Welcome, everybody, to the Queens of Podcast. This is our very first episode, and we welcome you and we thank you for joining in with us. Today, we are going to have a conversation about regaining our femininity and the role of the woman in the Black family structure. So, one moment, please.
Sister Victoria. Sister Victoria.
Hey sis, we can't hear you.
Okay, I am back. Can y'all hear me? Still no sound?
Yes, we can hear
Oh,
you,
my
sis.
way, Val. Anything worth value, it has a difficulty factor attached to it. And we're taught in the Nation of Islam, a lot of times the greater the value, the greater the difficulty factor. So I was just really waiting for it, expecting to have some type of trial. However, we're going to go ahead and continue to move forward. So I'm going to go into our mission statement. Hold one moment, please. Let me get my camera adjusted. So our mission at the Queens of Podcasts is to inspire and empower individuals to embrace their true essence, foster unity, and elevate their lives through healing, awareness, and education. We are dedicated to promoting principles of modesty, balance, and growth while celebrating the values that strengthen families and communities. Together, we create a space where all can heal, grow, and rise into their highest selves with grace, unity, and purpose. I am Sister Victoria Muhammad, also known as Black Honesty, and we thank you so much for joining with us today here at the Queens of Podcasts. And this is our very first episode. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to have a discussion about regaining our femininity and the role of the woman in the Black family structure. So again, I am your sister, Sister Victoria Muhammad. And we'll go ahead to Sister Angelica. Introduce yourself, beloved.
Yes, yes, yes. Assalamu alaikum, family, peace, healing, and light. You guys should know me. Your girl, Sister Angelica X. I am a lifestyle wellness coach. I am the host of Healing with Angelica. And we talk about all things healing. I am so excited to be on this platform with my beautiful, beautiful sisters. So I'm looking forward to today's show.
Yes, absolutely. Sister Angelica, Healing with Angelica. And Sister Coach Remy. Okay, we're having some sound issues there. Okay.
I was on mute.
Okay, beloved.
So I'm good. Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I am Ramonia Muhammad, affectionately known in the internet streets as Coach Remy. I am a life and business coach. I am an author, and I work with phenomenal women entrepreneurs, teaching them how to create the life and business that they desire and one that they absolutely love. And I am so happy to be here with my sisters.
Yes. And it is a pleasure to have you here and be with you as well, my dear sister. Yes, ma'am. And Sister Ebony.
This sound is not going to let us live today.
I
Assalamu
know.
alaikum. I am your sister, Ebony X. I am a birth and postpartum doula. I am a transition coach for millennial women, and I am the host of the God Standard podcast. And I am really excited to be here. Really, really excited to be with these beautiful, beautiful sisters today.
And it's a pleasure to have you and to be partnering up with you beautiful sisters. You look so wonderful. And we're going to go ahead and get into the meat of it. Okay, so one of the questions I like to ask one of the sisters here, let's see. How can women reconnect with their femininity? What are some ways that we can reconnect with our femininity?
Well, I would like to kind of get into femininity actually. So I'll go ahead and take that time for us to dive into that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you guys, on today's Queen of Podcasts, right, we'll be discussing a topic that I believe is long overdue. I think we all know it's long overdue, and it's a well-needed discussion, right? Reclaiming our femininity, the role of the woman in a Black family structure, right? So we know for generations, women have been the backbone of our families, communities, and carrying immense strength while navigating a world that is often overlooked, unfortunately, in their values. But in the process, many of us have been forced to set aside our femininity, our softness, vulnerability, and divine essence in favor of survival. What does it mean to reclaim our femininity in a world that demands we be everything for everyone? And how does embracing this part of ourselves strengthens not just us, but the Black family structure as a whole? This conversation today, you guys, explores the power of femininity and its role in healing, leading, and nurturing our families. Today, we'll be reflecting on how reclaiming this birthright can transfer not only how we see ourselves, but also how we show up as women, mothers, daughters, and partners in rebuilding the foundation of our nation. Now, I want us to look more in depth into the word femininity, right? So, femininity, it means the qualities or attribute traditionally associated with the woman, such as grace, nurturing, and sensitivity. And that brings me to the first question. And it actually goes back to what you was going to ask, Sister Victoria. But let's break down this word femininity, right?
All
Because
right.
I think that's like the meat of the show. Let's talk about femininity. But I want to ask my sisters, and um, I'll let you guys go first. But what does femininity mean to you?
Okay, so I'll jump right in on that. Femininity to me means, just being embracing our essence of who we are as women, the second self of God, being soft spoken, being nurturers, um, being educated, modest in the way that we carry ourselves, modest in the way that we dress, just truly being the first teachers and representing the beautiful women of God that we are, the modern Miriam. So, yes, that's what femininity means to me.
I see my sister there.
Yeah, for me, it's I think for me it's more spiritual than physical. Um, it's about for me it's about resting in my power base,
Mm.
and my power base is my spiritual essence, the essence of who I am. Um, I don't necessarily have to tell someone that I'm a feminine woman, right? I think that that should be um, it should be from the inside out. So whenever you walk into a room, it should not be questioned as to who I am as a spiritual being. So for me, it's just really sitting and resting in my power base, which is my spiritual essence for me.
Um,
That's
I think
beautiful.
for me, I can definitely resonate with the spiritual aspect of it, because for me, that's kind of what it is. Like, as I was thinking about, the show today, I was thinking about the difference between like being feminine and being ladylike, right? Like having your nails done and having like that kind of stuff, and like fashion and jewelry and that kind of stuff. Um, in comparison to like the spiritual aspect of it, like honoring our intuition, being creative, not being so pressurized with how we move and how we, solve problems in a
Mm.
way. So yeah, I think femininity to me definitely goes into like our power as women, and our just our power of being at our power as being those really connected to our feminine energy in how we move around the world.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes.
I
And
wanted
then,
to, I wanted to say something on femininity.
oh, absolutely.
Um, I can honestly say, I always go back to just um having the opportunity and the blessing to just be a part of something so beautiful as the Nation of Islam, and which
Mm.
taught me my femininity. And when I think about femininity, and it kind of piggybacks off of Sister Remy, it's just our nature.
Yeah.
And I think because we have been made other than ourselves, unfortunately, we haven't been operating in our true nature
Beautiful, dear sister. Oh, wow. I mean, we are really dissecting the subject. And, I pray that the audience out there are gathering, the fruit that we're sharing with you all, and that it may be of substance to you. Wow, so beautiful. So then you pretty much covered it, Sister Angelica. How can we reconnect with our femininity? And as all of the sisters on the panel discuss, what is femininity? And in different aspects of the physical, the spiritual, the emotional side. So I would like to go into a question here, and any of my sisters on the panel can actually respond. Now, with 75% of the work being with the woman, how does that relate to the success we bring to the Black family structure?
Oh, can I answer that one? First,
Absolutely.
anyways.
Go ahead, Ebony.
So I think, and I seen something actually just the other day, and it just kind of came on my timeline, and I know it's controversial. Um, I forgot the brother's name. The brother that passed away, may Allah be pleased with him, but he used to speak about like high value women and high value men. What's his name?
Kevin
Okay.
something.
Kevin
Sam.
Kevin Samuels, yes. So it was a video of him speaking to a sister, and let me just say, like, I don't agree with everything that he says, but in this particular video, he was speaking about women, and he was speaking about the Nation of Islam, and he said, like, I'm not a Muslim, like, at all or anything like that, but when you see an MGT, you don't even think of her in a certain light. When you see an FOI, you don't even think of him in a certain light, right? Even if he came from the streets, even if she came from the streets, you don't associate them with a certain demographic, and you have high respect. And he said that basically the teachings have cleaned up our people so much, where the women are at such a high caliber. And I think it comes back to what Sister Angelica said in terms of our nature, right? Like, this is our nature, and our people, our sisters that don't have, that knowledge, can't execute in her nature because she doesn't know who she is, right?
Come
So
on.
having that knowledge and understanding who you are makes all of the difference, because then you're like, hey, I don't have to behave like this, I don't have to succumb to this, I can create, I can be, I can ascend to the highest level of what I'm capable of. So I think when we think of 75% of the work, it speaks in and of itself, even if you don't agree with anything else. um Even like sister Ramonia said, like, when you walk in a room, it doesn't need to be spoken about, it's felt, right? And I think as MGT, like, I was speaking to another sister, and it's like, as MGT, even if we're not in our garments, even if we don't, look at face value like an MGT, we kind of stick out like a sore thumb, because you could tell something's different about that sister, like, no
That's right.
matter where you go in the world. So yeah, that's what I think on that.
Beautiful. I agree wholeheartedly. Any of the other sisters want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I do. I was talking with the sister the other day, actually, on 75% of the work is with the woman. And so I know sometimes we hear it, right? But I don't know if we're really understanding what that 75% mean. And I'm with Sister Ebony. 75% of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's work is the resurrection of the dead. And
Come on.
so the 75% has to be with us because we are the mother of civilization. So whenever a community or society or a nation judges a community, it's looking at the condition of the woman. And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in his wisdom, knew that it would take us, how we dress, how we talk, how we move, how we interact with people. And as Sister Ebony said, we stick out like a sore thumb. And so we don't necessarily have to say anything, but just exemplify that which the Honorable Elijah Muhammad came to give. And it starts with the woman. It starts with the dress. It starts with the changing of our mindset. It starts with the changing of our behavior. And so I think that is the work. The work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is absolutely is with the woman first.
Mhm.
And so I just think that this topic that we're having, because it's trending on social media, you know what I mean? The feminine woman, the masculine woman. And so it has to be with us, you know. So I like what you said, Sister Ebony. So I'm skating on the lines with Sister Ebony and what she said as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. Sister Angelica.
Wow, both of you guys, it was beautiful. Um, whew, 75% of the work. I 100% agree with Sister Remy. Um, it's in the resurrection of our people, and in order for us to be able to resurrect the people, we have to start with the woman. Again, the woman is the first teacher. She is the first nurse. She is the first, right? And it takes me back to a lecture. Don't recall the lecture, but I recall the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan speaking about how um, when a woman brings in new life, right, and a baby is here, the first person they call on, or they call mom. The mom is their guide, right? So just understanding that in its essence should make us as women understand how valuable we are and how
Mm,
precious we are in the eyesight of God, and why we have so much of a work to do, because it starts with us. And once we're able to change and be able to resurrect ourselves, because
mm,
it's self first and others, once we're able to resurrect ourselves and be renewed again, we're able to continue to bring in new children that are better than those before us, right?
Right.
mm.
So it's really really just in depth. And with Sister Remy, when she brought up this, like, us not understanding that 75% is so important, because if you
Mhm.
don't understand why is it 75%, right, and the men is only 25, it goes back again about how much of the work that the woman has to do, because she's the one that brings in that new life,
Come on.
right? She's the one that again, the teacher, the nurse, and she sets that foundation for her children.
Right.
And then from there, is what they say, train. I think it's in the Bible. They say train the child up. you know.
Yes.
I don't remember verbatim, but yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Alhamdulillah. Yes, ma'am. I was thinking about our 7 units, right? And I look at the 7 units as it relates to our role in the Black family structure, because we're looking at how to rear our children, how to take care of our husbands, how to cook, clean, sew, and how to act at home and abroad. And the training units that we have were given to us by God. And if we apply them to our lives, then we will be successful in our roles to our family and beyond. Because as the Black woman, we bring peace, comfort. We have nurturing spirits. And it's just so much that, as you said, Sister Angelica, with and all of the sisters here said about the Black woman being the second self of God, being the first teacher. 75% of the work is with us. And when we have the right mind and we know who we are, then once we express these realities and apply them to our very lives at home, then it happens out abroad. So our neighborhoods become blessed, our communities become blessed, our whole nation becomes blessed because of the woman. So, like you said earlier, Sister Remy, a nation is not judged by the man, it's judged by the woman. And you can teach a man, when you teach a man, you teach an individual, right? And when you teach a woman, you teach a nation. So when we really understand this, then we understand our power as women in our femininity, not masculinity, because that's not our nature, but in our femininity, we are most powerful. So yes, I just wanted to add that in.
That's beautiful.
Beautiful.
You can go, sis.
I was gonna ask if I could ask you a question, Sister Victoria, specifically,
Absolutely,
but if
beloved.
anybody else wants to answer as well. But I think that you do a really good job of, like, you're very feminine, right? Like that's how you like present, right? But I know you're a mother of boys, right?
Yes.
And also you were a single mom for a long time. So I know that with that role comes, kind of like a masculine essence, if you will, right? So how did you rest in your femininity and evolve in your femininity, being around a whole bunch of boys and also being like a sole parent?
Beautiful. That is a great question, my dear sister, because it does take balance. Okay. We can't lean too far to the left and we can't lean too far to the right when raising boys. I have 4 beautiful sons and they are masculine. And so a lot of times as women, we teach our sons feminine ways, and that's not going to work. So we have to have a level of firmness. It's not so much as masculinity, but firmness. So when I say what I say, my sons know I mean what I say, because there's consequences for not doing X, Y, and Z. I had a little timer thing. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna count to 3, and this is what it is. And so if I was able to get to 3, then they knew that there was consequences, and I stood firm on that. So they knew that mommy is not no joke. She ain't just gonna be passive. And because sometimes we just are like that, and we're like, oh, we baby our boys, and we don't want to do that. We want to be firm with them. So it's not so much as exercising masculinity when dealing with my sons, although I had to be strong. However, it's being firm, meaning what I say, saying what I mean, and just showing them love as well, because that's one of the things about it is we can't be so much of disciplinarians to the point that we don't show our children love. I remember brother student minister Rasul, he was speaking one time, and he said that he talked about parenting. He said that if you discipline your child, if you physically discipline your child and they're upset with you after you discipline them, there's something you didn't do right, because obviously it's something that child did not receive in the way of love. And so I had to go back and look at that. And he said, never discipline them when you're angry, talk to them, make sure they understand why they're being disciplined. And so after you discipline, it should be a spirit of love. It shouldn't be where that child is hurt, feeling, disrespected, embarrassed, or anything. So I just like to just use the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad in my household in, raising my sons. And by the grace of Almighty God, a lot of people have told me, you raise sons better than any man I know, because my sons are so respectful. They're so mannerable. I mean, they're so masculine, and I am truly grateful because they take good care of me. Alhamdulillah. So that's a great question, my dear sister. Allah gives us what we need in order to, take care of our families?
I want to weigh in on that too because I too have all boys. I have four sons.
Mhm.
And for me, I'm with Sister Victoria, that you have to have an equal balance when you're rearing men, young men.
Mhm.
And for a while, when I came into the nation, I was not married. However, I'm grateful because I had the FOI
Yes,
that helped me rear my children. So whenever they did not do something that they were supposed to do, or if there needed to be any form of discipline, I had that balance. And so you do have to have an equal balance um, when you're raising boys, because
yes,
they are going to let you know at some point that the respect is there. It will always be there, but they'll let you know at some point, and it may just be the way that they act, but they'll let you know that, I'm my own being. You know what I mean? And that, mom, you have to respect me, especially when they grow into their adulthood. So yeah, you have to have that equal balance. But I'm grateful for the FOI. I'm so grateful.
that's right. Beautiful. And
I
I'm
want
so
to.
glad you mentioned the FOI, beloved, because we can't do it by ourselves. And it's a lot of the things too, even though a man may have not been around a FOI, I was able to consult with the FOI about things like, okay, my son is going through this, and and they gave me counsel. And so with that counsel, I was successful. So we're so blessed to have the Nation of Islam and have the brothers, the FOI, to consult with about our sons, because we can raise them. We can teach them their ABCs, their one, two, threes, and but we really can't teach them how to be men. And so it takes men sharpen men, like steel sharpen steel, right? Oh, praise is due to
Yeah.
Allah.
Because at some point, you will have to turn them over to some male, whether
Mhm.
it's somebody, an uncle or grandfather, somebody. You will have to actually release them into the hands of a male, because we can rear them, as Sister Victoria said, but we can't teach them how to be men, because at a certain point we'll start cuddling them as their mothers and not making them the men that's fit for this world, or to be husbands, or to be producers. So at a certain point, you have to turn your sons over to, if you're in the nation, the FOI or some male in your family. You have to.
Absolutely. And continue to pray. That's one of the main things, like, because when there was no man around, there was God, there was Allah. And that's when I would call on him the strongest, because I know that I needed him. And so when I didn't have the answers, it's like that's when we just open up, in sincerity to the God, and he will give us what we need and when we need it the most. So I want to open up. Does anybody else on the panel want to chime in on that subject matter? And then after that, we're gonna open the comments and see what our listening audience are talking about. If y'all have any questions, we're gonna go into questions from the audience, and perhaps even bring someone on stage if we're able to. So let's see. Do y'all have anything else you want to chime in on that subject matter, Sister Angelica?
Um, I actually have, and we can do this after we see if we have any guests who wants to share their thoughts on this topic. Because I want to hear you guys' perspective on this question. But what I've learned, being I'll say a second time mommy, because my son is my rainbow baby after I lost my first son. And within this process of being a mother and watching him grow, I'm also just learning not to, I would say, um, be, and I think because he's getting older and he's getting more like mommy, no, like, he's about to be 4. But like as they're growing, they're like they're coming into their own personalities, right?
Right.
It was a time where I didn't want him like out with just anybody and just stuff like that. And I kind of see how that kind of hindered his growth as far as like being able to interact with other children and stuff like that because of me want to be overprotective of him and just knowing how people are in the world and stuff like that. But I've also learned too when it comes to disciplining, like my son, he look at me, he like, yes, mommy. I'm like, yeah, because we're not doing this today. So I think it's like you, Sister Victoria, Sister Remy, it's that balance. So after I discipline my son, honestly, with me, I don't have to physically put my hands on him. I just talk to him a certain way, and of he gets emotional, he'll cry, but I'll basically just direct him in explaining why you got disciplined so he can
Right.
know that I'm not mad at you, baby. I'm mad at the decision you made. You're not supposed to do that, but I still love you. Because I think that's where, as children grow up, they may think that you're upset with them or you're mad at them, or is it me, mommy? Mommy don't like me because no, it's not you, baby. I just didn't like what you did. So for me, and having my son, and as he grows up, I try
Mhm.
to always reaffirm to him that I love you, and but I just didn't like the decision that you made, right? So you can know the difference, that this is not me disciplining you because I'm mad at you. I'm mad at the decision that you made. So yeah.
Absolutely. That's the balance right there, what you're talking about, beloved. Absolutely. That's beautiful. All right. Anybody else on the panel? All right.
I want to ask a question to Sister Angelica. What um, what advice would you give a sister that is disconnected from her feminine power base? What advice would you give to her?
Ooh,
Mhm.
that's beautiful. Because I can honestly say that I've only been in a nation 2 years now, and it's been so many times where I felt disconnected. Then I reconnected myself, right? Like, okay, I'm feeling disconnected. Life is life, and what do I do? But I can honestly say that when it comes to being able to, and uh, you said reconnect back with self, right?
If what would, like, if the person is disconnected from their feminine energy?
Okay.
You see some sisters that may be hard, that may be rah rah rah. You know what I mean? So what type of advice would you give a sister on connecting back to the essence of who she is?
I will, that sister will need to identify where is this masculine energy coming from.
Mhm.
Um, it takes a lot of self-evaluation to understand why are you so masculine? What happened to you? So me personally, that's what I had to do. I had to, like, when I see myself being masculine or being too just not in my feminine energy, it usually is stemming from some type of like hurt or past situations that made me have to step into a role of protecting myself. I feel like I always had to protect myself. I always had to be hard and tough so I won't get hurt. It was like something to protect my heart from being hurt. So I truly believe for a sister, it will be best for her to just sit back and really self analyze what it is that may be triggering your masculinity to be as high than your feminine energy, right? So yeah, because I had to do that for myself. Like I'm like, why am I so upset and mad? Not saying that we don't have those emotions, right? But some of those ways of being masculine has stopped me from having certain relationships with people because they're like, you're mean, or you're like, what's wrong? Like, are you okay? And I'm like, I am okay, but I'm not okay. I'm really going back to when I was a young girl and my father came back in my life and he left again. And when I was younger, I was like, oh, so you's gonna leave? Like, I felt like that. And I felt like, okay, you hurt me. So any man that I came across, I never gave them my full attention because I never want to felt that abandonment again. So it kept me walled up. So yeah.
Wow, that's deep, sis. That's deep.
Yeah, that's good. I thought as we are sitting here talking, I thought about that, and I thought about um, the dynamics of what keep us as women from resting in our power base. And I do believe that it comes from trauma and that it comes from pain, and I think that that's a part of our that's a part of our purpose as MDT. You know what I mean? The minister said that I forget which lecture it was, but he said that the woman come from the inner womb of Allah. And so we are naturally created to be who we are. We are naturally created to exude that feminine energy. That's that part of Allah, the merciful. We're very merciful. We're very loving. We're very caring. And that's the part of Allah that we come from. And so when I do see or come across a woman, even in the work that I do, that has her guards up and that um, may not be able to get to the heart of what she desires out of her life. And I know that I'm looking at pain and trauma. And so I'm often um, very cautious at how I deal with us in that way. I tend to show more love, more care, and more attention, to the clients that I see that's very heavily guarded. And so I thought that I would ask that. Thank you, Sister Angelica, for your answer. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. That was a beautiful question. Like, ooh.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
You see, I had to ask you again. Like, say that
Yeah.
again.
May I add to that?
Yes, ma'am.
So yeah, that was an awesome question, and not only a beautiful question, but an important question because it's like, okay, we know 75% of the work is with the women, but like, where do we start, right? And I know for myself, similar, anyways, as Sister Angelica, described. I come from that. Like, I grew up playing sports with a bunch of guys, and that's like how I grew up. And it was always that wall of having to protect myself or assert my position as the girl kind of thing. And I think in healing myself and in coming into my my feminine, like I mentioned before, on one aspect, it's understanding who you are, knowing who you are. But okay, once you identify, okay, this is the problem, I was abandoned by the adults around me, and I had to figure it out and put up a wall to protect myself because the adults weren't protecting me, right? I think we have to learn to nurture, because I think as a woman, one of the main aspects of us is nurturing. We have to nurture ourselves, we have to love ourselves, and we have to, I think, when it comes to abandonment specifically, we learn subconsciously to abandon ourselves because that's just our norm, and we have to come back to like fulfilling that within us, right? Because as you said, like, we came from the womb of Allah, right? We came from that mind of Allah, and Allah is the creator, right? And we are creators. We're all creators, and that's our purpose. On an individual level, is to create in specific kind of different ways, right? So, like I said, nurture ourselves, love ourselves, and I think we have to learn to be creative. We have to, because that part of us, in many cases, especially going to public school and being told that like our voice doesn't matter or our expression doesn't matter or it's too much or it's too loud, was diminished in a sense. And I think coming back to that, like coming back to the creative side of ourselves, coming back to the part of ourselves that was told to be quiet. If you want to sing, sing. If you want to dance, dance. But come back to that creative. You want to draw, you want to paint, you want to, those kinds of things, even if it's not, you're not trying to be Van Gogh or like something like that, but just for yourself, literally just for yourself, just to express, to color, to, create. Because when you look at children, even little girls, like I look at my daughters and they're so loving and they're so like, I'm a person, this is kind of funny because I don't like dogs. I'm not really like an animal person per se. And my daughter goes up to like every dog and I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, but she wants to hug it. She wants to see, like, one day we found there was like a rabbit like stuck at a park, like stuck in a fence, and she's like, you have to rescue it. And I'm like, I don't want to rescue this rabbit right now, but we did. But it just, the creativity, the nurturing, it comes so natural to them.
Yes.
So we have to come back to, we're MGT, we're Muslim girls in training. Even though we're adults, we have to come back to the girl within us, the inner child. We have to heal her, because that's the foundation of the woman, because she knew how to be feminine before trying to protect herself and putting up all the walls. She knew. So we have to go back to her and bring out the woman, I think.
Oh, wow. I am just so full. I see that someone in the comments is saying this is healing, Sister Angel.
Y'all, I'm getting the chills, y'all.
I know. I'm just
we need a part 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm with that, dear sister. And that's what this show is all about. We want to facilitate healing and a space of empowerment and education and upliftment and inspiration. So if that's what you're experiencing here on the Queens of Podcast, that's exactly what our mission is. So I guess, Sister Angelica, I'm seeing that you've been like moving around in that chat. I don't know how you're doing it, but you're gonna have to tell me later, because I'm learning something here.
Trying to listen, y'all loving the show. Y'all put y'all comments in the text. Y'all know how I get down.
Okay, that's what's up.
So I'm loving this energy, y'all. I love y'all. Like, this is a beautiful. I have so many questions, and I know we don't have a lot of time. I'm like, we really probably gonna have to do another like episode just on this.
Yes.
But I do have one question that I just want to hear all you guys' input on. But we can continue if anybody else got a question.
Okay, no, beloved. I mean, if we don't have any questions in the chat right now, go ahead on with your question, beloved. I'm gonna let you handle the chat because you work in that chat, sister. And I'm like, okay, let Sister Angelica do that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Sister Angelica's the vet. The vet in the building.
Yes, on his video stuff. Yes, praise be to Allah. No, so when we think about reclaiming our femininity, right? I think about like how far it has went back to where we've lost our femininity. And I go all the way back, and I kind of just got into this, and I've heard the minister speak about the infamous this Willie Lynch letter, right? The Willie Lynch syndrome, right? But I want to hear you guys' input on it, because we have more than that has kind of like made a false interpretation into our minds for us to be how we are today, right? So, like, how has the history of Black women shaped the way we embrace or suppress our femininity today?
That is a powerful question, my beloved sister. If you don't mind, I'd like to chime in first on it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So when we look at that Willie Lynch letter and we look at the Willie Lynch syndrome and what has happened to us, Willie Lynch, he decided to divide us from each other so that he made us distrust each other and only trust him as our slave master. So he took the lighter and put the lighter against the darker, the old against the young, and he put us against each other to make us hate and distrust one another. And so what he did, he said that it's to last at least 400 years. And so it's actually still in effect today. Well, we having discard with our sister. We, might toot our nose up, or our sister may toot their nose up at you because you're dark skinned or because your hair is long or somebody short hair, whatever our differences are, he used those to put us against each other. And so now we're coming out of that. And so we also had to be really strong as Black women to try to keep our families together. And when I say try, because that slave master was so wicked, and it's still wicked today, where he would even just take our men and make them breed with even their own mamas, their sister, their cousin, because they wasn't thinking about anything righteous. They just wanted slaves to work for them. So now here's the Black woman in her reality of being the second self of God, having to endure all of this evil. It's a atrocity. I mean, just so much evil, and trying to survive through all of that. So that did build a sense of, I guess, strength within us that may look masculine, but it's a survival mechanism that we had to endure and we had to put on ourselves in order to get through the darkness of slavery. And so that's still in our DNA today, sisters. So it's not our fault. When I see my sisters, being really strong and masculine, I know that something has happened to that sister. And not only is it in our DNA from slavery, but we're also experiencing things today on other levels. And I know we don't have time to go right into those things, and we will have to do part two. And that will be our next show, because this is meaty and we really want you to get the best out of it. So I'm actually going to stop there, beloved, to allow others on the panel to chime in as well.
Thank you, sis.
Can you repeat your question again? Because I want to make sure that I'm clear and that I'm giving good data.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So the question was, how has the history of Black women, I'm sorry, I should have said, I didn't complete it when I asked Sister Victoria, Black womanhood shaped the way we embrace or suppress our femininity today?
Everything that Sister Victoria said, everything. I mean, if I could sum it up, everything that she just said. It has actually, along with, let me say this, along with the modern feminist movement or mindset, has created a huge ripple effect in our community. Even from the point or the place of how we handle and deal with the men in our lives. That is being suppressed, has been suppressed, is being suppressed. So I'm going to stop right there. I'm like Sister Victoria, but everything that Sister Victoria said, but that piece, I think, hits home, especially, again, everything that we're seeing on the internet that's trending. That is a very, very big issue. And it's the distrust in how we relate to one another, male and female. And yeah, so I'm going to stop right there. But everything that Sister Victoria said, but I had to throw that in there. That's a large part of some of our challenges now.
Right.
And it's so connected to the infamous Mr. Willie Lynch.
Right.
Thank you, sis. Whew.
Yes.
So for me, I think, first of all, I want to say I was reading something the other day and somebody brought up the Lynch letter, and the comments were going off about the Willie Lynch letter being like fake or something like that. And to me, it like whoever like thinks that, like obviously we weren't with Willie writing the letter, but from a conceptualized point of view, like it all adds up. Like the math definitely maths. So like, you know, Islam is mathematics and mathematics is Islam. And I understand everybody doesn't have that, I guess, teaching, but we have to be realistic about it because we do all of those things. We go against each other based on color and age and all of these things. And for me, I think we're very familiar with how things have affected us. We all know whether if we're living in the Caribbean or we're in Canada or in the States, Black people suffer from the exact same things generation after generation after generation. So I think that we have to reframe it in the sense where we can't keep on talking about okay what hasn't worked and what isn't working, but we have to think of the future. We have to think of okay, so what are we building? And that's one thing of many obviously that I love about our teachings is that we're building a nation, right? We're not thinking about like the hereafter is now for us, right? So even this podcast for an example, right? Like we're all different shades, we're all different ages, we're all different in different ways, but we've come together to have, you know, powerful dialogue, right? Because we're thinking of, I think I am, you know, thinking of the future, thinking about like my daughters are going to see this, thinking about what other I seen a brother saying that his daughters are watching with him, like what they're
Yeah.
going to see, you know what I mean? And I feel like we have to more focus on what we're doing and what we're building, because then we can come from the place of, I think we have a lot of hurt as people. We have a lot of, as Sister Ramonia said, we have a lot of, you know, mistrust, distrust, and we don't feel safe around each other. I think, you know, a lot of the time. So I think we have to, you know, kind of sometimes put our head out there and do the thing that might feel unsafe for the greater good of the future. You know what I mean? Like this might feel unsafe for me. I might feel, you know, whatever, you know, negative emotion, but okay, because I'm thinking of the greater good, because I'm thinking of the future, because I'm thinking of the children, then I'm going to suck it up. And as we build, as we put one brick and one brick and one brick, we realize, wow, it's a whole house. It's two houses. It's three. It's hundreds. It's a nation. You know what I mean? So I think we have to just move forward, recognize, not to ignore our pain, but recognize, okay, it's there, but in spite of, we can go on. We can move forward.
Beautiful, beautiful. And unfortunately, it looks like we have only 2 minutes left of the show because it is an hour show. Sister Ebony, I would like you to, and so much, thank you so much for what you shared. It was definitely right on point. I'm
Praise
looking
be to God.
forward to us doing part two. Shout out to Autumn and Amber, dear sisters, young sisters in the audience, 16 and 13 years old. They're always
Praise be
keeping
to
up with
Allah.
us, and they say that we're their heroes. So we love y'all so
Wow.
much, and y'all are our future. So this is
Absolutely.
for y'all. You know, this is for you all, man, woman, and child. And so we are a family, and it's about building the Black family. So thank you all for joining in. Sorry we didn't get a chance to get to all of your comments, but we will be sure to get to them, inshallah, after we end this broadcast. Sister Ebony, if you could just give us some closing remarks, and then Sister Coach Remy go into the announcements, and we're gonna see y'all next time.
Praise be to Allah. That was an awesome show. So yes, I just wanted to share a little bit of a word from this book. I love this book. As you can tell, I use it a lot. It's all, you know, studied through. This is Naturally Beautiful by our beloved Dr. Minister Ava Muhammad.
Yes.
May Allah be pleased with her. So I
Well,
just wanted to read a little bit. This is from page 15, and something that I think will, you know, culminate a little bit of what we were speaking about. So it's 2 paragraphs, so bear with me. It says, The word nurture and nature are akin because you cannot nurture a life unless you feed it in accord with its nature. What is the nature of the Black man and woman, and what have we been nurtured, nourished, and fed? And have we been nurtured, nourished, and fed according to our nature? Every creature that is properly nurtured develops the power of its own being. So Black people have never been nurtured in the way that Black people should grow. Allah God gives the female a nature that is akin to his nature, and the nature of the universe, which is called she, because the universe is pregnant with new realities. A woman is a powerful creature, one of the greatest representatives of the nature of Allah God himself in creation. The root of her nature reflects the nature of God, which is love. End quote.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
That was so good. That was really, really good. Um, for all of our listening audience, those who are on Facebook and on YouTube, if you desire to send us a Cash App, you can, or donate to our cause and what it is that we're trying to do here, you can send us a Cash App at Queens of Podcasts. And also, if you are looking to book us to have any questions or have us to come and speak at any of your speaking engagements, we can be reached at queensofpodcast@gmail.com. And please tune in to our next show, our next Queens of Podcast show, December the 26th at the same time, the same place. And what we'll be talking about is being renewed in 2025, self-improvement objectives for the new year. And until next time,
Remember to accept your
Accept your
own
own and
and
be
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 yourself.
yourself.
yourself. Assalamu
Assalamu alaikum.
alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
We love y'all.